So this is podcast number 1, and we got co-host Jin, co-host Khan, and this is Meet the Leaders. Guys, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jin, and my co-host Konstantinov.
I am Khan.
And today we will be introducing you to the leaders of the Durmanhoth clan. First and foremost, we have Hardware. Say hi, Hardware.
How you guys doing?
Who is the overlord of the Durmanhoth clan. Now, Hardware, how about you introduce yourself a little? Tell us about yourself and what you do in the guild, other than just lead.
Well, I'm Hardware. I've been a guild leader since about 1993, back in college. And I guess I'm kind of the one that gets everybody going in the right direction, and with the council that's in here, kind of keeps everything on pace.
Alright, so let's start with the history of DC. How exactly did you end up starting DC and as the leader of DC?
Well, back in about 93, 94, in college, there were no graphic games really. They were MUDs, which is multi-user dimensions. They're text-based. Pretty much you hit N for north and you walk to a screen and it tells you about the room, and people's names are the characters. Was helping it was a Two Towers was the MUD it was called. It was a Lord of the Rings theme. I was helping them with the beta testing and stuff like that. And when they released, they had several guilds involved with the Lord of the Rings, and one of them was an Assassin's Guild. I was able, whoever finds the guilds were the leaders, and the guys and I set out to find it. I ran in, started the clan, and the Durmanhoth clan is actually Rough Elvish, which means evil blessed horde. And from there, the Durmanhoth clan had started, and they actually had gone to about 2010 before they were wiped out for excessive beating people up in game. And in about 97, when I got out of college and started my normal career, I met Wolf, and we started playing Ultima Online. And from there started the graphic version of DC in our illustrious careers then on.
Can you talk about a little bit just the games you've had a major impact on?
Well, I don't mean to demean any games, but I would say that the ones that we were highly involved in were Ultima Online. To be honest with you, if it was back the way it was when I originally played, I could play that right now. I think Nyrus, who's in here as well, would agree with me that that's probably one of the more fun games I've played. Well, Ultima Online, we had a strong presence in. We had a strong presence in Star Wars Galaxies, where we were the premier Imperial Guild on the Flurry server. And after that, it was hit or miss, to be honest, because most of the games that came out after SWG were raid-type games, the WoW clones and whatnot. And while I am not a raider, I'm a PvPer, those games and the guys that I would roll around with just didn't develop the way that they had in the previous years. And since then, we've got a very good contingent of PvE raiders. We've got a very good contingent of crafters coming out of Star Wars Galaxies, and we have a very strong player killer base. So we're able to cover all three aspects of the gaming community now, and we're pushing forward into the new sandbox that's coming down the pipe.
So would you say that the Durmanhoth clan was most prominent in SWG?
I believe yes. That was our pinnacle. For roughly 2 years we ran the server completely. Before that, at the very beginning we had a strong presence as we were making our way through, and then afterwards the legacy kind of lived on, and when some people had left after the NGE, we came back for about a year and a half, and we were welcomed with open arms, and a lot of the Imperials wanted us to be around just because of the past that we had done, and Flurry, and it wasn't just DC obviously, but because of the activity on that server, the Flurry server made it all the way to the game sunset. So while DC obviously has to have enemies to fight and whatnot, we were definitely a reason for the server getting skipped in the initial execution phases, where all the other servers got shut down.
So, Harper, can you tell us about the leadership roles and who they are given to throughout the guild?
Absolutely. The guild is run, I don't want to say dictatorship because that's not true. There's a Dark Council. Everything, all the major decisions done through each individual division are handled by the division heads. And then I, for political aspects of the game, handle everything as a generalization. The next one down is the ranks, for me, is Overlord. The next two ranks down are Dark Queen and Archon for Lahira and for Nyrus. Lahira's role as a Dark Queen is pretty much the ambassador program. When we have allies and enemies, we have ambassadors that are specifically attached to those guilds, and we can keep the lines of communication open between them. She runs that. She's also in charge of the recruiting aspect. When all the applications come in, and we've had thousands over the years, she's the one that goes through them. God forbid I touch them, I get yelled at, so I leave that in her hands. She screens all the applications. It's discussed amongst the top command staff and then the council, and then when people are passed through, they're passed through. Nyrus is the other one that's kind of my voice if I'm especially not online. He runs as the division leader. All the division heads would go through him, especially if I'm not on. With Lahira and Nyrus, I'm in phone communication at all times, so it's never a matter of that one of them is going off on their own or causing an issue. We are so close, especially with Lahira being my wife, is that everything is handled very much consistent and in tandem with the way the guild is supposed to go. And Nyrus takes care of all divisions with the leadership of that to make sure, as he stated, that the supplies are there. If there's problems, Nyrus handles the internal affairs aspects. That's if one of our guys does something to an allied guild. If one of the guys does something to an enemy guild that's a little bit out of box, he's the one that would oversee that and handle things from there. Stepping off the top three, you have the general, which I have not instituted right now, as the PvP division head. That's the guy, obviously, for job aspects. Everything there is to know about PvP, about the game mechanics, and that person leads, if whenever possible, the charge, whether it's attacking enemy cities, whether it's assisting in the defense of allied cities, whether it's training our guys, all aspects of siege warfare. He handles that. He is an assistant to our city defense, but he's not the one that's directly related to that. The next step down is and the Dark Council, I want to really say, is more linear than a step down. But the next one is the Admiral, and that's Thoro. Thoro is in charge of everything to do with the PvP, the PvE, and raiding aspects of the clan. He's well versed, and the position needs to be, as far as what raiding is, what needs to be done for raiding. Thoro's in charge of what we would consider our progressive team. Those are the guys that are kind of obsessed with whether it costs $100,000 to try to pass a boss or $1 million to pass a boss, whatever it takes to pass the next boss, he will attempt to do that. Whereas the rest of the guild will give it a couple tries, and then usually we'll break off and go kill somebody because we're upset. But he's very big into the raid, and his knowledge in previous games is going to be an extreme asset going into Repop, which is our next format that we're going into. Next we have a Wolf. who's the governor. The governor handles, I guess you could say it's kind of the everything else. Everything from the event coordinators that we'll have for both our guild and associate guild, and that's clan events whenever we hold something. He assists with recruiting. He'll oversee some of the city aspects as far as what's in the treasury, so we make sure we have the funds that are necessary. He makes sure that we have, however the game is going to be set up in the bank or the vaults, the materials that we need for the crafters. That way the crafters can keep our guild up consistently with armor, and siege mechanics in order to defend and attack the other side. The purpose of this is to make sure that every division has a leader and is a specialist. I've been PvPing my entire gaming career, so I really don't know anything about raiding, and if you ask any of my guys, I know nothing about crafting. So it's very important, in my opinion, that you set up a guild structure, that you have people that are specialists in those avenues of guild leadership to oversee those specific ones in order to make sure that they're successful. And then my seconds, obviously, are people that I am so close with, like Nyrus is almost a brother to me. I've met him in real life. I know his wife. I know his kids. He's met mine. It's a very close relationship. So I know for a fact, if I'm not on or I'm on vacation, Nyrus in his position can handle everything that's necessary. So it's filling those leadership roles is important to make sure that if I'm not on, the clan doesn't fold, and that's the way it should be.
So would you say that the continued success of the guild is attributed to the bond, so to say, of trust between the leadership and the guild members?
I would say absolutely. If you don't have faith in your leadership and the direction that the clan is supposed to be going, then that's where you get the proverbial guild hop. I believe I've surrounded myself with guys that have experience, knowledge, and that I trust on a higher level than norm. And as long as I have that relationship with my leadership cast, that trust goes down to them, and then they'll surround themselves with people that they believe have the same personalities that meet the clan requirements.
So that will transition to Nyrus, who is the Grand Archon of the Durmanhoth clan. What exactly is it that you do, Nyrus?
What's going on? Basically, I am Scott's right-hand man. Whatever game that we are full force in, I will pretty much help run stuff, help Blah out. If Blah's not there, then I will help run everything and pretty much oversee all the divisions, make sure everyone's supplied, make sure everyone's getting along, there's no quarrels, stuff like that, kind of keep the peace.
What was the first game you started playing?
Yes. My first game, MMO-wise, was Ultima Online.
So how would you explain your relationship with hardware?
My relationship with hardware, I would consider that I would consider him almost like a brother, family, both him and Law. We've only met once in person, family-wise, but being with around him since '98, very mutual relationship on the phone. So there's constant communication. So we get along pretty good. We're into the same stuff. So it just makes gaming and communication very easy.
So here, what's your role in the guild, and when did you join, and how did that come about?
I joined DC around 2004 in SWG. I had my own guild, Death Dealers, in my own city, and apparently I was very close to the biggest rebel city, which hardware found very convenient. So We became friends and talked. DC would use my city to siege the rebel city, and just got to know the guys in the guild, and we ended up merging my guild with DC, and I've just been there ever since. So 2004, early. Usually I do things like application process, recruitment. In SWOTR, we did a lot of recruitment off the forums. We would search for good players. Thor was one of them that we got. And we have an application process. We have a format that we go through. And then, like Hardware I said earlier, we discuss amongst some of the higher ranking members if they qualify in some of the things we're looking for. And also the ambassador program, that was a big deal in SWG to keep in contact with allies and enemies, and to keep a direct contact for if there was drama and all kinds of things, make sure that people were helping defend bases when that was needed, things like that.
So as one of the recruiters, what are the things that you look for in a recruit?
Basics are 18 and up to start. Previous experience, previous games, what kind of content they're looking for. We're very heavy PvP, so that's always a big thing. Going into a game like the Repop, when it's back to sandbox type, it's a lot easier to take all different walks of life and different aspects of game players because we're going to need all of those. So it varies on what we're looking for. It's mainly experience and knowledge.
Okay, halftime. I know you want to get back to the interviews, and we will in a minute, but first let's see what our friend Fist is up to. In this segment we call Get Fisted, but I can't find any graphics related to that, at least none that I want to show, so for now this will have to do.
I'd like to PK the shit out of her.
Say ready, fight.
I don't think he's gonna survive without giving him the weapons first.
He's doing really good, actually.
You can't see them.
Drop him some
User
weapons.
left your channel. Disconnected.
Drop into the hole.
He's hidey-holed himself.
You let loose a fist.
We got both Jin and I are admin, or ops, and just not. And we've just been bringing him, and we like threw him in this pit. We were throwing stuff at him like dynamite, but he managed to escape with some dynamite that we gave him. And this is Jin's actual building that he's been working on. So we don't know where Fist is at. We know he's up to no good. No doubt about to blow up Jin's work.
I'm afraid the silverfish game got me. Oh god, shit. No, never get out of here. God. How long this took for it? Shit. Oh my god. Fucking hate you, Chris. Where's he getting this dino at? What is cool?
I don't know.
I'd like to PK the shit out of her.
Jin's not a her. But there you are. There's our first installment of Get Fisted. Now, back to the show.
Congrats on your promotion there.
Thank you, sir.
You're the Admiral PvE specialist, and what exactly is it that you do to get ready for raids and such, and what are your roles in the guild?
First of all, I gather up all the little people, and then I tell them, see that stuff over there that's red? Don't stand in it. See that stuff over there in blue? That's okay to stand in. Okay. Now see that big guy in front of you? The one of you with a big shield? Go hit him. All of you others, don't hit him until the big guy with the shield hits. Other than that, we just play it by ear.
That sounds like a difficult job.
You would be extremely surprised. I mean, look at these people. We've got hardware who basically has no idea what PvE is. We've got Nearest that doesn't come anywhere near me. And then the rest of you. Yeah, it's a hard job.
Yeah, I've run into your raids before.
Yeah, I'm a big cuddly teddy bear.
And like you have to have an instruction manual in every language.
Cussing is probably the preferred language. I just make sure that everybody knows their role, knows what they need to do on each boss, get a basic strategy down, make sure everybody's assigned, make sure we've got a tank, an off tank, everybody knows where to stand, the strategy we're going to try this time, make sure everybody's got their pots, their flasks, make sure that everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, make sure my DPS aren't standing in a corner DPSing something else. It's basically like herding cats. Pretty much what I do in my real job anyway, so not too much different.
So would you say a lot of research and time goes into properly preparing and knowing what to do in a raid situation?
Usually. Usually you go watch some videos. It depends. In progression rating, you may be the first person that's ever seen this boss, and then it's pretty much, well, what has another boss done that spit fire at me? And then you go try that, and you get your ass handed to you. And so you run up and down, you beat your head against that boss 300 or 400 times. Eventually he gets tired of you and he falls over and dies. But if you haven't done the boss before, or there are strats out there, pick the one that's best for your raid. Not all strats are good for all groups of people. You may have 2 tanks, you may have 3 tanks, 1 healer, 5 healers, some good DPS, some not good DPS. You've just got to really assess what you've got going on and try to assign people what they need to be doing, and hopefully that they can listen.
Thor, could you talk to us about your qualifications and history with PvP and MMORPGs and just games in general?
I started out with a Commodore VIC-20 sitting in front of my computer trying to figure out how to type in BASIC so I could play skiing. From there I moved on to stuff like Seamus, and then really got into King's Quest. Decided in college beer and women were a little more important, so we went down that road for a while. Got out of college, got to a BFE in Southern Illinois and started playing some games. I picked up WoW, started 40-man raiding, and was like, this is awesome. I get to kill shit and drink beer and bullshit with people. For some reason, people thought I was a good leader. Still don't understand what it is. So I moved up in the ranks. My guild started to become fairly competitive. We started out being about 1,000 in the US. We moved all the way up into the mid 300s. We acquired some guilds. We ended up in about the top 100 guild in the US, right through Lich King. After Lich King happened, I just felt the game was dumbed down, got married, and then kind of left the game for a little bit. Saw that Star Wars was coming out and was like, hey, this looks like it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm a huge Star Wars geek. So I got on those forums, started trolling. This girl named Lahira started hitting on me. I told her, no, just stay away. Come on now. But there was none of that happening. She finally convinced me to, hey, come on over here. I have this guy named Hardware I'd like you to meet. He was an okay guy, so I figured I'd jump in. Found out he was pretty good looking, so I stayed around. They were all a bunch of PvP heads. Didn't know what PvE was. Hardware could barely spell PvE. So I decided, hey, why don't I take on leading this bunch of ragtag guys, and got a couple other guys together. We started doing some recruiting. We ended up at the second ranked guild on our server in Swoter. Swoter, as we know, tended to die out, and so now we're sitting here.
The rest is history.
That's right.
So what's your favorite aspect of PvE?
My favorite aspect of PvE is after you've hit your head on that boss for 300-400 times in a row, and you finally find a way to down him. I have yet to find anything that gives you that type of an adrenaline rush in a video game. All 20 people are relying on you to make sure that at the end this inanimate object and bunch of pixels goes down. You can beat on it for 100, 150, 125 times. And then finally you figure out that one thing that you guys were missing, and that boss goes down, and the room literally just erupts. I have yet to find anything in a video game that even remotely compares to it. The only thing I could even compare it to was when you were playing sports, and your team actually did something. And I don't think there's anything better. Yeah, you can go kill somebody, but if it's one-on-one, it's just a test of skill against skill. You have 20 people that you're leading and taking into an encounter, and they all have to work together, and the margins are so razor slim, and you finally get it done, and it's just awesome.
So, Wolf, as newly appointed governor, what exactly are you planning to do with your new position?
Well, a lot depends on the game mechanics, what's happening in there, but as an overview, most likely it's going to be to take care of the city, the people. I'm going to work at seeing what hardware needs in Nyrus and Lahira, and make sure those needs are fulfilled. Try and keep the clan going as far as what resources we need, what money is needed, taxes, everything that you would see. I suppose more of a mayor in a city would do than a governor, but I guess a governor on a statewide would do it statewise. But so that kind of thing.
So what time did you join DC at, and what role did you play in its development?
That was back in the 90s sometime. I can't remember a specific year. Right about the time Ultima Online came out, I met Hardware. We were working together. Was it 91 Hardware? 92? You're muted. Sorry. My bad.
97.
97. Thank you. So it was back in 97. We were in the same general area as far as our patrol. We were talking one night. Got talking about Ultima Online. I ended up joining. I believe it was DC. I don't remember exactly who was all the leadership of that. I suspect hardware and others. I didn't before that. The only thing I ever played before that was modem games like Nuke Nukem, Doom, so early on stuff. Ultima Online, we played that. Then we later on went into SWG. That's when the real action started, as far as MMOs. At that point, I was pretty similar to the role I got now, as far as helping out, and I was, the mayor of that town, Korriban in SWG, and a lot of that stuff was, the same thing. Hardware needed. That's what we wanted to do, and we got that done. So we created the city, and I believe we were real close to being the first on Flurry. And then we created a lot of different things that became pretty awesome play-wise. Well, considering I used up all 3 of my shirts, that marks the end of the first official Durmanhoth Clan webcast. We hope you enjoyed getting an inside look at the DC leadership and invite you to stop by our forums over at www.durmanhothclan.com. This week was all about getting to know your DC leadership. Next week, perhaps we can get into the primary focus of our podcast, and that would be the game, the Repopulation. Stay tuned for the outtake of the week, and if you are a DC member, keep an eye out for more crazy outtakes, not recommended for public consumption. My name is Wolf, Governor of the Durmanhoth Clan, and I approve of this message. Oh, hang on, I gotta get my cat out of here.
Pussy.
I'm gonna go get my AT-AT walker and put it in my mouth.
Alright, I'm ready.
Oh my god.
You bunch of fucks.
Easy, boy. Easy.
Jesus.
Boy.
Cut to a commercial.
Good boy.
Oh my god.
You the sound effects machine.
This is Repop Siege mechanics.
This is the kind of things you should be recording.
Mine's a baby one.
Coral has one too.
Who's gonna fuck me?
What a bunch of fags.
You wanna say hi? Say hi?
Oh my god.
Say hi, Coral.
Hi.
You're recording this.
Mine's just a little baby.
Every AT-AT they ever made.
Come on, cock, where's yours?
3 of the DC government are pulling AT-AT babies.
Wait, I think mine's gonna burp.
Ah, shit.
Jesus.
Gonna let it out.
Paper bag and look over my head.
It's all over the place.
Oh, this is quality.
Well, if you are recording this, right?
Oh yeah.
Everyone else is gonna bring their pets on.
How sad is it that we all were able to pull out AT-ATs?
Best.
That's how epic we are.
This is the casual questionnaire, so you guys can all talk at once if you want. Because we're a little stiff before, but we got that out of the way, so now just be yourselves.
I'm not stiff anymore.
Mhm.
That's that part.
I
I'm
believe
completely loose.
Do we want to ask the question in the hall, or?
I think it's, and I always say this, and it always starts with hardware, and everyone I talk, I always ask them if they know the Wheel of Time books. Taviran, they call it. It's basically it's someone who has the ability to draw other people's lives into their own, and that's what I always think hardware is. He kind of draws people in and impresses them and motivates them to get things done. And so that's the foundation of DC, and then it's the people under him, and it's the members, and then the recruits, and then the people we play against, of course, have a part. Enemies and allies. But all that makes for a good clan is because it's I don't go in and I've been in clans before in the past where it's been kind of a bummer to go in because you don't know anybody. Like for PlanetSide 2, I joined a clan to play, and it's probably the number one clan for PlanetSide 2. But they were so distant, I didn't know them. They weren't like my friends. I'd come on, and it was stupid. But we're here in DC, even though I can't remember names, obviously, very well. But anyone who's in DC, it's almost like being in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps. Anyone I meet who's in the Marine Corps, they're like my brother, just like Nyrus is saying. And that's how I feel about DC members. And that's what I think separates it.
Well, I would add something to that, but I don't think anybody wants our opinions, right?
No, go ahead.
I agree. Just there's a great sense of camaraderie and brotherhood. I think the thing we excel most at is looking out for each other. And I think some of the other guilds kind of made fun of DC for the past. In the past for that, but it was kind of like I don't know. Just because we zerged them with 400 people doesn't mean we're a bad guild or anything. At least from the stories I've heard, they'd make fun of DC for that.
Well, for me, I guess I would say two things separate us. The first one, administratively speaking, would be that we're able to sustain people that have different gaming styles, regardless of who they are. That being said, we have strong, non-stop, all we like to do is PvP players. We also have crafters. In SWG, we had entertainers. We had everything. And it doesn't matter if you're a PvPer, or a crafter, a raider. Everybody gets along. And it's because of the ability to have each individual player style in the guild that it diversifies, and we're able to accomplish everything in the game and be self-sustaining without having to outsource much resource and material-wise. Coming off the administrative view, to kind of piggyback everybody else, honestly, it's been a family. After gaming probably about 2009, 2010, after AOC kind of cashed out, I was kind of done. MMOs just really weren't appealing. There wasn't much going on. You're throwing hundreds of dollars at these games, especially guild leaders out there, setting up TeamSpeak, setting up websites. It's expensive. And only to have a game sustain a shelf life with an MMO community for 3-4 months now is disheartening. But coming back, getting into TeamSpeak and hanging out with the guys and talking with them, you get to know DC on a personal level. And as soon as you become a member and you're given the quote-unquote keys to the city, you're thought of as a brother, and you're brought in, and people help you out. Whatever you need, you're immediately part of the clan. And I think that separates us from a lot of other guilds, because we've had 500 plus members. And while the very top might not be able to have the time to hang out and help out 490 other members, the fact that the top clan council has people, and they have people, and they have people, we have a successive regime that makes sure that even the newest person coming in is not left out. And that coupled with TeamSpeak and the fact we've been around so long, I think it gives it some nostalgia. And people just seem to be attracted and come back no matter where we're at. I think that's part of the reason why we stand out.
We also aren't as hardcore as a lot of guilds. As I said, I was a hardcore raider, and that can get really, really stressful. As you can probably tell, I like to joke around. I like to have a good time. DC can do a good balance of both. They know how to have a good time, know how to get serious and get shit done. But at the end, everybody gets together and we can bullshit, and that's really important. I was in a guild where, you know, it was all business all the time. And this is a freaking game. We're here to have just as much fun as we are to get shit done. And that's another distinguishing factor about DC. We like to have fun. And Eurus, you are a sexy, sexy devil.
Thank you, sir.
Can
Not a
you
problem.
add to the episode?
Yeah, sure. Well, when I came into DC, it was through League of Legends, and it was actually through one member who I made friends with, and I was brought into Slaughter. I was actually convinced to join somehow. Maybe not surprised. And then when I came into DC, what sets it apart? I mean, I've been in several guilds. I've been in guilds of friends. I've been in just random guilds. I've been in like raiding guilds. I've led guilds, and you can only go so far without having a connection with all the members. If a guild gets too large, you have the issue with not knowing other members and you kind of being either left alone or stuck with your own little group of friends. DC, when I came in, it was so inclusive that I just came in so seamlessly that I just stuck around. Even after Slaughter just kind of fell apart. What sets DC apart, in my opinion, is not only the structure and simply the length of how long DC has been here. It's tried and true, it's been tested, it's gone through all the things, they're experienced, they have everything you want in a guild. And yet they're not just, as Thor says, all business. We're just here to have fun.
I think it may sound like a plug, but I'm a big believer in TeamSpeak and or event. That was always probably my answer. And those that stick around in TeamSpeak and join and talk and get to know the other people seem to really feel what you guys are talking about a lot more than individual. And just to hang out, no matter what DC's playing, whether it's LOL or Neverwinter or whatever it is anyone's goofing around and jumping into, getting to know everyone in the TeamSpeak is just a huge deal for me. That's why I always bug everybody about it.
Fucking around, please.
Shut up.
Good night, everybody.
I'd like to PK the shit out of her.